The entrance to former President Jacob Zuma's house has been a hive of activity this week as his supporters rallied in a show of force following his constitutional court sentence of 15 months imprisonment. Zuma has since filed an urgent application to have his sentence rescinded by the Constitutional Court, ruling raising the right to life as a concern given his age and his health concerns. Amid tensions in Nkandla, it's also confirmed that the ANC's weekend NEC meeting has been abruptly postponed. To have this discussion, we're now joined by political analyst Xolani Dube. Xolani, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really been an eventful week from, alleged gunshots being fired and people coming out in their numbers to say that they will not allow the former president to go to jail. What have you made of the week that we've seen?
Look, I think this is the so-called the pitfalls of national consciousness that we are currently witnessing in that scenarios happening in Nkandla. And really, it amazes some of us that what makes Jacob Zuma to be a hero now, because Jacob Zuma has been operating collectively with an organization who today we still live under its policies. And those policies, to a certain extent, they are anti-South African natives. These are the policies that makes us the second citizens, or if not the third citizen of South Africa. And so I'm asking myself if all the things that we see are ideological or are just the manifestation of other things that has nothing to do with the real issues that are confronting the South African natives.
Zuma has to hand himself over to police by Sunday. Failing this, the South African Police Service will have 3 days to make an arrest. At the same time, we know that he's waiting for a response from the Constitutional Court on his application to have his 15-month sentence rescinded. What is your feeling around how things will play out? Because the deadline is near.
Look, let's just be honest here. As you have heard before, he told us that he's got no confidence to this institution that he was part of during the creation of all these laws. And he thought that these laws will insulate him from the reality that he's a South African native, and these laws are there to protect the interest of the ruling class. He thought that before, but I think now he is realizing that he is not different from any other South African native, or despite that he thought that he is the black elite, and them by sitting around the tables with our former oppressors, they will be insulated. And so I think whatever that is doing currently is supposed to be a lesson to all of us, the natives in South Africa, that those who oppressed us will never have an interest to liberate us. And so also on the other side, I think he is betraying those who are supporting him, because why he was gaining so much support? He was gaining so much support because he was trying to promote himself as a person who's an anti-establishment, a person who is not in line with these laws that to a certain extent are victimizing the South African natives. And so I think those who are sitting there by his gate, they are starting to question again to say why this man is taking all these processes where he has been telling us that he is willing to go to jail rather than to submit himself to these laws that are not just. But now, look, he is negotiating again with these laws that he told us that they are not just. And so I think this is the highest contradiction in our lifetime so far.
Zuma has claimed to be a victim of political gimmicks, and he previously accused Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo of bias and, saying that he used this claim as the basis for walking out of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. And now we're hearing that he was, in fact, walking out of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry because he needed to take his medication. Where are we heading with this line of debate?
Confusion. There is no principle here, you know. That's why I'm saying there is no principle, you know, because we thought that this is an ozymandias of our liberation post-1994. But now, look, we see that this ozymandias is formed of a piece of clay, you know, is someone who is not really principled to his cause, you know, and that puts his supporters into more confusion, you know. And so that's why I'm saying I really feel so sorry for people who are following him rather than to follow the cause. And what is the cause? The cause is still to liberate the South African natives from the shackles of colonialism, apartheid, and 1994 elite transition, of which he was part of that 1994 elite transition. And so when you look at KwaZulu-Natal today, you know, Jacob Zuma was an MEC in KwaZulu-Natal for economic development. But we know it very well that he never thought of liberating the South African natives in KwaZulu-Natal. The footprints are there. The Indians are still dominating the economy of KwaZulu-Natal because of him and his political party who placed other nations at the expense of the South African natives. And so I think these are the painful truths that we need to confront. Even those who support him, they must know that they are supporting a person who had betrayed them. Yes, they have to support him, but they must know the truth as well.
Speaking about his supporters have essentially been consistent throughout the last couple of days. We've seen them coming out in large numbers saying that the former president cannot go to prison because he's a 79-year-old, his age, citing health concerns, saying at one point I heard that he needed to go to Russia for his medical condition that needed to be treated. And also another aspect was the fact that he's done nothing wrong. How much substance is there to that?
Look, that's what I'm saying. You know, most of the time, the black political elite, they misguide the gullible, the vulnerable South African natives. You know, him going to Russia, him at the age of 79, how many other South African natives who are at his age, who lives in squalor, who live in the condemned spaces of our country, who can't even afford to take a taxi to get a pill or to take a taxi to get these social grants, you know. And so what surrounds him is the privilege of the elite. Look at his house. Look at the people who live around his house. It clearly shows that even him himself, he is part of the elite. That's why I'm saying the question that you have to ask ourselves, what is the role of those who are sitting in that gate in relation to liberate blacks, natives of this country, who are at the age of 79, who stays in Deep Sloot, who stays at Nanda, who stays at Khayelitsha, who are ravaged by poverty each and every day, because we grew up with a slogan that say an injury to one is an injury to all. Is it still relevant, or are we only now fighting for an individual? Because if we're fighting for an individual and we're not fighting for a principle that our country is still a country that is enclaved in colonialism and apartheid, let me tell you something. 20, 30 years to come, our grandparents who are going to be 79, our grandparents who will have all this other illness of old people, they will ask us, why don't you fight for us as well as you fought for Zuma? And so that's why I'm saying, if we have to fight for justice in this country, better that justice not be given to an individual. Let's fight justice across the board. Him as well, he must know that to a certain extent, he has not been honest to us. When time was right for him, he was on the other side of the elite. And now, because things are no longer going good for him, he is starting to mobilize us. That's why I'm saying South African natives must need to be wiser, must understand that our cause in this country is not for an individual, it's for us collectively to be liberated rather than to fight for an individual. Because what is going to happen in future, we'll be fighting for someone else, whereas we have kids at school, we have people in township as we speak who move around unemployed, who move around hopeless. Those are our struggles. Those are our collective struggle rather than to fight for an individual.
And the ANC has cancelled the NEC meeting that was set to take place, citing the tensions that are brewing in KwaZulu-Natal. Could there be underlying suggestions to that cancellation?
Look, as I've told people several times, you know, ANC died with Oliver Tambo. It died with Oliver Tambo. What we have there at the Snake's house is not the ANC. Those are other elites who are not interested in our issues, who look for their own interest. As you can see now, for the mere fact that they are putting aside their responsibilities as an organization, inverted commas, rushing to KZN, it has nothing to do with Jacob Zuma. It has nothing to do with us. But it is about them to find relevancy in this chaos so that at the end of the day, they can inform those who are handling them, the minerals energy complex, to say, us, we are still in charge. We can still regulate these poor people. We can tell these poor people not to shoot, not to lick their spears, but to behave as if everything is fine. And so I think the most important thing that the South African native need to understand is that we are at the crossroad. And as we are at the crossroad, those who have been betraying them for the past 27 years, they must understand that they are no longer in charge, but people are angry. They are not angry on behalf of Zuma.
Absolutely.
But they are
we're going to have to leave
because
it
of the
there.
policies that keep on
Political analyst Xolani Dube weighing in there on what's been playing out outside the homestead of former President Jacob Zuma in Nkandla. Of course, tomorrow, will he go to prison or will he not? Big question rounding up that discussion.